and this is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio!
Do you or someone you know suffer from poor circulation, shortness of breath, or chest pains? Are you looking for a more natural solution to help overcome these problems? People tell us that after just a few months taking Extendivite, their doctors have noticed unexplainable improvements in their overall health. For more information, visit heartdrop.com or call 1-877-928-8822.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
And tell them Nighthawk sent you, because if you call this number and tell them Nighthawk sent you, you'll get $5 off your first order at extendivite.com. Thank you. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Barbara Jean Lindsey is an internationally acclaimed psychic, spiritual healer, author, and founder of the online mystery school, Esoteric University. As the Cosmic Oracle, she is a conduit to the powers that be to answer your questions about your future self, past lives, current career, love. She shines light into the darkness to illuminate what was, what may be, and beyond. The readings and advice given by Barbara Jean Lindsey are for entertainment purposes only, should not take the place of any medical, legal, or financial advice given to you by a qualified professional, and are not a substitute for medical, legal, or financial advice. If you need a doctor, call a doctor. If you need to be expanded, call the Cosmic Oracle.
This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey, and welcome to the Cosmic Oracle Show. It is Friday, December 14th, 2018, and we are coming to you live from Sacramento, Northern California. And I do have a wonderful guest. I'll be bringing her on shortly. We have Aurora. I think you will just find her as inspiring and energetic and innovative and honest, and she just brings so much to the table. I'm very excited to have Aurora join the Cosmic Oracle Show this evening. But before we go there, I do want to thank all of those that have donated in the past to keeping Revolution Radio on the air, and of course our show, the Cosmic Oracle Show. We wouldn't be here without you and your support, not only energetically but financially. We're an all-volunteer station, and that means that I don't get paid, the producers don't get paid, and all of the other 52 shows that we have running almost 24/7, 7 days a week, no one gets paid for anything. And so we get to what's good news about it is that we're free and we get to express whatever we think is important. And keep that information truth, honest, and on the pulse of the planet, just for you. And so if you'd like to give a donation, we'd appreciate it. We've raised $1,807 so far this month, and we do need $2,800 a month to keep the lights on and keep everything going. So all you have to do is go to revolutionradio.com. That's freedomslips.com, and you'll see a donate button, and just hit that donate button and give whatever you can. $5, $10, whatever you can. We really appreciate it in advance. So I think I'm going to go right into it today with our usual, and I usually pull a card from the deck. And the deck that I use for over, I don't know how many years, is the Druid Craft Tarot. And so I pick a one for the show today. And I've been doing this for a long time, ever since I started the show, actually. And so I've just been sharing it with you, the listeners, just the last, 6 months or a year, I'm not sure. So here's the card for today for the Cosmic Oracle Show. And that card is the Eight of Wands. So it's the Eight of Wands. And there it is. And so let's take a look at what the Eight of Wands has to say to our listeners today, if you're listening. So sometimes when we do a show like this, when certain things come up, it's not only for myself or the speaker that's on the show, but there's certain people that will tune in not only now but later that will want to have some kind of a contingency, a web, or a thought or an idea or something where we all kind of come together and meet up. And not only in the heart, but here on our station. And so this is a connection, kind of something that we can connect through. Today is the Eight of Wands, and I read that to you. It means speed, synchronicity, and accomplishment. So you have either achieved your goal or are moving swiftly towards its accomplishment. You may well be experiencing a time in your life when so much is going on, it can seem hard to slow down enough to take stock of what is actually happening. You may hear exciting news or take a journey, or you may find yourself falling in love or swept off your feet in other ways. By being excited about a new project or idea, for example, and throwing your energy and enthusiasm into it. There's a quality of efficiency and orderliness to the speed of events, success, or movement suggested by this card, which means that it may indicate you're involved in streamlining your life or your business. Synchronicity and serendipity may abound, or rapid communication or negotiation could be occurring. While generally a very positive card to receive, it does sound a few notes of caution. When getting carried away by an idea or by your feelings for someone, be careful that it's not just an infatuation. And as you experience the events and the time signified by this card, be aware of going too fast. Try to sense the natural flow or rhythm and attune yourself to it, even if the excitement may make this difficult. So speed and synchronicity and accomplishment. Hey, so we're not doing too bad today as a general rule. Maybe for all of you artists out there, or writers, or dancers, or musicians, today's a good day for all of you that are listening in today. So welcome to the show. I'm going to try and bring Aurora on, and I studied how to do this, and I just thought I had to go to number 2 and hit that live button there, and you guys should be able to show up, and then I could just pull you in, Aurora. But I don't see that working as well as I'd wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and pull you in on the Skype first, in case we can't pull you in on Facebook. So I'm going to call Aurora now, and we're going to add her to the show. And I have her all tuned up to bring her on. There she is. And here we go. We're going to add her to the show. And here she comes. I'm getting better at this. Hello, Aurora.
Hello.
Yay! We have you. Connection. Most excellent. Most excellent.
So who am I talking to? Who is on Skype right now?
Okay, this is the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is Barbara Jean Lindsey.
Wonderful. Okay, because I see you on Facebook also, but I'm not hearing the same voice from Skype as from Facebook.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is, what I had wanted to do is pull you in through Facebook. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and do that. It wouldn't let me earlier, but let's we could not connect to your selected camera. So we'll have you, we'll turn off the camera on my end here. Okay, and then we're going to try and pull you in through Facebook is the way I thought we would do it.
Great.
Okay, so we're going to try that, all right?
Okay.
So I'm going to try that right now. And I think there you are. There's a small one of you, but let's, oh gosh, this is when I need a producer. So maybe instead of trying to pull you in, okay, through Skype, oh gosh, we should okay, it's just going crazy, Aurora, on my end. So it's good. The energy is really high. So, yeah, it's not letting me do anything. There we go. I thought I could just pull you in on Facebook.
Yeah, so I have a separate computer set up with Facebook. I'm logged in on there. And I made a comment. Sometimes if you click on my comment, it will give you the option of bringing me on live.
Okay, let's try that. Here you are. Okay, Aurora, hi, I'm ready. So I'll reply. Thanks for listening, all of you out there just listening in and not being able to see.
Yeah, we're working on technological stuff.
We'll just talk telepathically and energetically.
That would be the easiest thing in the entire world. Oh my goodness, my life would be so easy.
Wouldn't it? It's just
seriously
so slow this way. And my son's on, and I just can hear him saying, wait for it. You know, it's so funny. So let's see. Okay, so that should bring you in right there. I should be able to bring you in on that. So let's see. Oh my God. And so it's liked. And now I should be able to just go up here on the eye where it says the people that are tuning in and click that, and you should be able, it should say, do you want to add them? And I say yes. Yeah. Because that's how I think it usually works, right?
Yes.
Yes. So as we're having a few little technical, I think it's because we're going to so many different places here. So let's do that. We're going to take that back. Unless you want to do it on your end, Aurora, I'll just interview you. If you can pull me in, either way, do you know what because I have it recorded on my end for in the archives for Revolution Radio, but it's not letting me bring you in. So maybe if you could try and bring me in instead.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to start my own live video and see if I can bring you in.
Yeah, it's really weird, huh?
Okay, wonderful. We'll try it.
We're going to just do it, however Spirit wants us to bring it together. Because we're stubborn, you know.
That's exactly right. I was watching my friend's terrier today, and that dog is stubborn.
Your little dog was so cute.
No, my friend's dog. My friend's dog was so stubborn.
Okay, so
I don't know. It's not letting me go live from my computer over here. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why. Isn't that just strange? I've done it before with no problem. So, unless someone knows who's listening and can help us, yeah, it just doesn't want to let you in. You know what I could do too?
Oh, I think my thing is working, actually. Let's see what we got here.
Okay. Because I could try you on something else too, mainly on just my main page maybe, and see what happens there. For those that are listening in, shall I do that, Aurora? You like that idea?
Yeah, because I don't know why Facebook is not letting me start a live video, even though ordinarily I can.
Yeah. So let's do that. So I'm just gonna pull you here. Thanks to all of our people who are listening on Revolution Radio. We're almost there. So I'm going to stop the live video now on the Cosmic Oracle Show, and I'm going to just take you live from my Facebook personal page. So that's what I'm going to do. So it's live here. So I'll see you on the other side, everyone on Facebook who can't see us, but hopefully we're going to redo it.
Fantastic.
But all of you who are listening on Revolution Radio, thank you for tuning in. We're almost there. I can feel it. It's in the air. Okay. So we're going to go to home. Oh, it's so funny because it shows up on that space. So, okay, so I'm going to hit, here we go. Nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. Let's see. Okay, so that's not it. It's not letting me do it there either. Well, we're just going to just hang in there, everyone, because it's worth it. It'll be worth your while for sure. Oh my goodness. So it's how we deal with life. You know, are we going to let it break our calm? I don't think so.
Definitely not. And I mean, not to interrupt your process of figuring all this out.
Yes.
You called me today to do the sound check before we got started. And I know that I have your phone number inputted into my phone, but it wouldn't let me find your phone number or call you back. So I say techno gremlins are just trying to mess with us. Don't let it happen. We'll get it together.
We are getting there. Let's see. Okay, so here we are. So it is just really being kind of funny, glitchy. Let's see. So let's see this. Okay, it's just not us see more. So let's see if we can. Isn't that interesting that we're just live video has moved? Oh, here we go. It's moved. That's why. Okay, we're coming aboard. We're coming back around. Here we are. So I'm back again on Facebook on Barbara Jean Lindsey, and so we'll see if Aurora is my guest. Let's see if we can get you. If you want to go to Facebook under Barbara Jean Lindsey, I think we got it.
Great.
Let's try that, and then if not, we'll just keep on going. We'll go somewhere else and. The Cosmic Oracle Show. You're going to laugh when you look at the new technology coming when this is like archaic. This is like tape decks or something.
Exactly.
Although I do have a 2002 Prius and I do have a tape cassette in my car. So, but it does get 50 miles to the gallon. So that's good. So hello, everyone. Welcome again to the Cosmic Oracle Show. We have with us today our guest, Aurora. She's pretty amazing. I'm really excited for you guys to kind of, you have to experience her. You know, kind of like I did. I met her at the Stargate to the Cosmos conference in Mexico, and we had the best time and didn't have enough time. But you will find her as amazing as I do, and we're trying to get her on, so she's here. So let's see. I should just hit that little I, and it should say to bring you on, and I don't. So we're trying to get her on because I really wanted her to show. You know what? We'll do it this way, Aurora. We'll have you post your paintings and your images, and I can do that too in the comments. I guess we'll have to do it that way.
That sounds perfect. Good.
We're going to have to regroup and reform and come up with something new. Hey.
Totally cool. I'm definitely can flow with the reality changes.
Yeah, we're good with that, right? So, okay, so I do want to invite all of you who are coming on now to our wonderful guest, and that is Aurora. And when I first met her, okay, I'm sitting at my booth at Stargate to the Cosmos, and I feel her before she comes. Okay, I feel this kind of an energetic flow, a positive energetic flow, kind of come around the corner, and it caught my attention. In fact, and so when I turned around, here's Aurora with her beautiful little dog, and she's like so positive and so up and bringing so much to the table, like really showing up, like really vitally alive, pumped up, ready to rock and to give and receive and take and do, and it was just awesome. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Aurora.
Thank you, Barbara. That's an amazing introduction. You're wonderful. Thank you so much.
So what we do, part of our show here on the Cosmic Oracle Show, is part of the work that we do is we hold sacred space for people to tell their stories. And so I'd love for you to tell, you have an extraordinary story. And, you know, I know you're like with me, you think you get tired of telling it, but it just kind of, when you start to tell it, it's like you're hearing it for the first time again.
Yeah. And I think like the information that I have to share in the sense of what I depict in my paintings and sculptures and what I teach in my class is different than my personal experience and my personal, like the story of my personal experience. It's part of the information that I share, but it's also separate from. So yeah, I really, it's so, first of all, let me thank you for having me on your show. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast. And yeah, it was so wonderful when I met you at the conference. I actually felt like someone who's very much on the same wavelength, or a musician who's playing with similar melodies. And when you had shared with me some of your own story of what happened to you in terms of having a death experience and a metabolic death, I could really relate to that. So yeah, the death experience that I had is part of the genesis of all of the artwork that I make. But it's not, I don't always talk about it that much, because I'm much more than just, you know, like the worst thing that ever happened to me. So it's kind of like, you know, if you've ever been in an accident or something that happened, like, yes, that happened, and then you recovered from it. It doesn't define everything about who you are. So yeah, I describe myself as a galactic walk-in, or an abstraction in human form. And I came into this body in 2001, in October of 2001, and it was right after, you know, the events of September 11th of that same year. And those events of September 11th, those were really like a rift in the fabric of time, space, and consciousness, or like, let's say, like a tsunami was going on in the world of time, space, and consciousness. And so the person who's speaking to you now through this body, me, I'm an abstraction. And I perceived what was going on in this body that I'm in. There was another person that was in this body, and there was something very unfair that was happening. And this relates to all of the events of planetary invasion and human subjugation on this planet. It was one example of that the person who used to live in this body was literally being sacrificed, or let's say like psychic attacks, psychic warfare, spiritual warfare, and also a very real physical attack. And when I first came here in 2001, I would try to describe what happened to me, and I would say to people, oh, demons attacked my brain. And of course they thought, oh, you are quite insane. Like, so I understood, like I couldn't use that vocabulary to describe what had happened. So, you know, it took a long time. Now the world has really caught up with what's going on. And I can say to people, I had a directed energy weapon attack. And people are aware enough to understand that there are, sometimes it's called targeted individuals. There's this system of synthetic telepathy that is like using technology to artificially augment and amplify mind waves. And real telepathy is supposed to be all about love, and, you know, there's no way to like punch someone in the face telepathically. That's not possible. But if you use technology, then you can artificially augment telepathy in order to reach into someone else's mind to cause harm. And that is what these malevolent beings did. And the malevolent beings, we could call them demons. I call them occupiers of the interstices, like they live on the membrane in between worlds. And they're also connected to intelligence agencies that are active military intelligence on Earth's surface and in, you know, regular Earth politics right now. So it's complex. What happened to me was literally my brain was microwaved, you know, like with a targeted beam of energy. And at the same time, there was a psychic attack, like a spiritual attack, because this is spiritual warfare, and it's designed to, you know, enslave and destroy the person being attacked. And that thing that was going on, that attempted enslavement and destruction, I perceived on a galactic level. And I said, that is very, very unfair. And it was just one example of the unfairness that has been happening on this planet. And I have to tell everyone, many other planets. This planet is beautiful planet Earth has been invaded by consciousness invaders and genetic invaders, and many other planets have had the same fate too. But we don't have to have the same, we don't have to die. We don't have to be destroyed. We can do something different in this experience. But it's like saying like the disease has come, like smallpox, and all these different people got the disease and all these different people died. But we can be the person that actually musters an immunoresponse and doesn't have to die of the infection. But all of that in order to say that the intention was to destroy the former ego ego of this body, destroy this body, destroy the soul signature of this body. Like that was it. It was intended to be, you know, a complete, like a ritual sacrifice is basically what it was. And when I say the word satanic, I'm just drinking a bit of water here. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for that. You know, when I say the word satanic, I'm not a biblical literalist. And I've looked into earth religions and, you know, I wear a cross, but I'm not affiliated with the Christian church. And I use that word, you know, demon or occupier of the interstice, but I don't want it to be charged or interpreted in the same way as, like, you know, through the Christian world. But yeah, the idea was like to do a demonic possession, that they wanted to, like, demons come inside of my body against my will. And I fought against that. And the tool that I developed, so I'm speaking now, I'm a galactic being that developed this tool. I'm holding it up on Skype, but I don't know if anybody can see it on Facebook, but I'll share an image. The tool is called the Flying Rainbow Lasagne. So I'm going to direct my energy. Let's see what I could do over here. If I could find, how do I share a picture?
Yeah. Good. In the comments, because they can go to the comments, and it's important that they see the image. That's a way we can do that. And in the meantime, I'll keep trying to get you on here.
Thank you, because I'm trying to figure out how to share a picture in the comments. I didn't think if I could share a picture in the comments on a video.
Yeah, you can. I had one up earlier on a different site, so we can do that for sure under your comment. Let's find it. Yay!
Fantastic.
Yeah. And so while you're doing that, I'm going to talk a little bit about your work too, and where they can find you as well. Aurora, our listeners, if you want to connect with Aurora, which I think that you probably will, you'll find her beautiful website at Flying Rainbow Lasagne.com, and that's FlyingRainbowLasagne.com for our listeners. And I'm going to go ahead and post that in our comments section as well on Facebook, so that we can, if they can go to that'll be helpful. They can actually see a little bit about what we're talking about as well. So there we go. So that's just in. And our friend Elizabeth England says, actually, if you are pissed off enough, you can punch someone with telepathy. I think that's, and it's telepathy. Whatever emotion you have, including your adrenaline, your fight or flight, can be telepathically communicated. It's just that most humans are not going to do that, or actually to get it when another human telepathically punches them. But the little gray aliens, sure, they will get that they are getting telepathically punched because they use telepathic communication all the time. And she says, I know this because I've kicked and punched a lot of little aliens telepathically in my lifetime. I don't do it anymore, but I did do it. So it's when you get your noom up and you just come to a point where enough already.
Yeah. Let me speak to that, because my understanding is that real telepathy that is natural is done on a bridge of love, and that it is done, respectfully. It's like cosmic lovemaking, not anything that is, whatever, against consent or rape or anything like that. And that if we're talking about grays or AI or something that is technologically augmenting its telepathy, that's different, because the whole idea is that if you cannot get to a place of love, you should not be reaching into somebody else's mind. But these little creepy crawly, idiots, they are not cultivated to the point where they can reach a place of love, but they want to reach into somebody else's mind. So they use a form of technology to do so. So I want everyone to understand it's totally appropriate to defend yourself from beings that might do that. If something wants to reach into your mind, yes, please do fight against them and kick and punch them. But that's not what telepathy is supposed to be. This is a subversion of the idea of reaching into someone else's mind. It's an aberration, a thing that should not exist.
Exactly. And I do want to say something of when you first had this happen to you. What year was that, Aurora?
So it happened in 2001 on October 8th.
Okay. And so what happens when something, I just want to back up a little bit for people who we have a gamut of listeners, not on Facebook, but people who've never even heard of this before. I do have a lot of the new people on my show, and then I have advanced people who this is like, it's just talking shop. And so with this, I know with me, when I had the attack and was taken out, I had a group of beings that actually fought for me to help me to stay here. And so I wondered, and then after you have something like that, how do you acclimate the process? Because it, like you said, it's happening more and more, not less and less. So can you speak to that?
Yes. So in the experience of being attacked, and I would say it was like, very uncomfortable, very unpleasant, involved a lot of torture and suffering. And I felt myself being extinguished, like my consciousness being extinguished. And really, I am speaking now as a galactic abstraction, made a very clear choice not to die and not to become co-opted by evil, like not to become completely corrupted. And my response was to spontaneously create this flying rainbow lasagna shape. It was like I'm faced with two very bad choices that I didn't want, and I realized if I wanted to have a third option, I was going to have to invent it. So I invented spontaneously in that moment this flying rainbow lasagna that is a new movement or a new oscillation in a higher dimensional space. And that allowed me, let's say, more wiggle room. I all of a sudden had more movement area that I could use in order to fight effectively and escape. So I invented that shape spontaneously and on my own. But after I did that, I received a lot of assistance, like you're saying in your own experience, that there were like higher dimensional beings that fought for you and helped you in order to be able to have a body. Yeah. So really what happened is, and again, I'm not a biblical literalist, I'm just very clear on that. I really had a connection with the divine, like God itself. And I was wrapped up in what I call a force field of grace. It was like a magical force field that made my body stay alive, even though theoretically I should have died. If you can imagine, imagine you were in a car accident, you're slided on the highway, but somehow a magical force field is placed around you so that your cells don't die. And that is because the flying rainbow lasagna, it was not instantaneous. It's not like, oh, everything in my cellular body could instantaneously shift into this higher dimensional format. It would take a little bit of time. Yeah. So this force field was placed around me and around the cellular structure of this body so that the body wouldn't simply decompose and turn into a pile of goo while I was trying to organize into this higher dimensional version of self. And that force field, it remains with me. And I really give it all the credit to the divine, like really a divine presence. So I'll affirm to any of your listeners, God is very, very real. But to my interpretation, what I'm saying here, it's not the God of the Bible or the God of any, human religious writings. It's a very real presence. And I had literally 1,000% of assistance. I wouldn't be here because there were many times when I was in medical crisis, even after that initial attack, because I was left with a lot of brain damage, and I have had subsequently, a lot of seizures and neurological crises and things like that. There were many times when I could have died again, and the body was held together, and my energy was held together in conjunction with the body by this force field, so that I could have, so that I could even have a chance to be able to be here and do this development. So God is very real, and I don't want people to feel like abandoned, like where's God and what is going on? We're under a lot of duress, and it is a very challenging situation here on this planet. So that's another thing, like I can say, if people here are feeling cut off from the divine, or they wonder if they're abandoned, or they wonder like, where are the good guys? Where are the angels? All of that stuff is very real. But it's not as the Bible describes it. It's just that this realm has been inaccessible. Like imagine being in a cell phone dead zone for thousands and thousands of years. And we're only just now coming out of that dead zone into the place of connectivity. Just drinking a bit more water.
Yeah. And so you've developed this system that not only gives you space where you can find some peace, maybe, and gather yourself, power up, and then go out into the world. Kind of like, that's kind of what I'm sensing. What you're like a field, a force field. It's on, game on. Like force up.
Well, that divine force field of grace. gave me enough time to be able to do this inner transformation. And again, I thought when I first came here in 2001 that this would just take a couple of years. Like I would wave my magic wand, snap my finger, and poof, we'd all go into a state of pure abstraction. I literally thought that. So I'm here. It's 17 years later. Like, wow, this has been a much long. It's like when you think that you're just going to be sitting in the airport for 5 minutes, and this is like, we have a layover here. We are quite delayed. It's taken a lot longer than I thought. I'm not complaining on that. But yeah,
it can be more dense too. It's just a denser place as where you resonate as spirit.
Yeah, and what I'm finding is it's about a transformation on a cellular level. And it was unfair or an unreasonable expectation to expect my body that I am in right now, that is my body at this point, to be able to transform with the snap of a fingers. That I had to have a more realistic expectation. Like, let's say you want to do something like learn how to run a marathon or do massive weight loss. If you want to change your body, you have to go at a pace that is comfortable for your body. You cannot rush it and be like, well, we have to run a marathon by next Thursday. That's not fair to your body. So, so on a galactic level, when I first came into this body, and when I first, was here on Earth experiencing life as an embodied human, I condescended a lot to the body and the planet. And I thought, like, wow, this is not a very sophisticated system around here. It took because things are not set up very well around here. You can understand why I felt that way. But it took a little while for me to understand, like maybe 10 years, how amazing our body is, like how complex our digestive system is, and all of the things that are necessary for health and survival. Like I had to learn about micronutrients, I had to learn about soil, probiotics, microbes, and once I started to educate myself and learn about all of that in the body that I am in, I started to have a lot more respect as to the sophistication of what I'm doing here. So it's kind of like, imagine if you are a horse rider and you ride around on your horse every day, but you're always kind of like condescending to your horse and you think like, you're just so dumb. But then, one day you have a problem and you can't remember, find your way home, but your horse is smart enough to figure out the way to get home. It's like, it's exactly that type of thing. So, I had to first, also a little bit on this journey of being here, because I'm totally a fish out of water. So I had to learn about having a body, and also had to learn about nutrients and how to care for a body and all the things that are that. And a lot of the things that people do in this time and place with their bodies are totally unhealthy for their bodies. So at first I did everything that everybody does here, like when in Rome, do as the Romans do. But the Romans are like smoking tobacco and drinking alcohol and drinking a lot of caffeine and having a very stressed out lifestyle. And I did all of those things like a woman.
You got to experience how humans are, right?
I totally did. And then I also felt how that made my body feel. And at a certain point, I had to say, okay, even though other people do this, this isn't right for this body. And I had to change my health things. And when I did that, humans in this time and place, they gave me side eye for it. They were kind of looking, side glancing, like, who do you think you are to not want to smoke tobacco? Because, I worked at I worked at some low-level, very stressful jobs where it was just normal for everyone to drink a lot of coffee and smoke a lot of tobacco. I was a custom framer, and I did all this, high volume work, and everyone was super stressed out there. And when I decided to stop smoking, then like my coworkers were like, who do you think you are trying to be all healthy? I had to learn about all these things. So I had to learn about the human body. I also had to learn about the human ecosystem and social dynamics. Because I didn't get that. I didn't understand coming here that people wouldn't celebrate you moving towards, that they might even be in competition. So when I was talking with you at the conference, we had a dinner together, and you were talking about how, after your experience of being like essentially revived and coming back and being here, that you were totally like wanted to just relate to everybody really authentically, just hug people. You didn't have some of the same barriers, and
no social conditioning at all.
Exactly. I really relate to that, because that is what my experience was like when I came here. I did not have social conditioning or a filter through which to experience everyone. And I'm coming from a place on my collective level, on a galactic level, where everyone is super loving. So I was all like, I just, was ready to hug everyone and just met everybody with a smile. And I didn't understand that there are malevolent creeps and jerk faces in the world. I didn't know about any of that or how to protect myself. any of that. So it was a crash course in understanding the human ego. So I had to understand that what people say, their words do not match their actions, that words can also be allegorical as opposed to literal. Like if someone says, do you want to go out to lunch? They're not actually offering you nutrients. They're actually offering you a romantic partnership. I had to learn about all these things. Oh my goodness. Barbara, I could literally write a whole book just on the funny, amusing anecdotes of Aurora not fitting in when she came here.
Well, and even the part then where, light attracts darkness.
Yes.
How does that work? You know, it's kind of like, what? I'm just being me, you know?
Completely. And that ideal of light attracting darkness, that was very, very real in especially the first couple of years that I was here, because I was super innocent and very, very light, very, very filled with that divine light. And really, I had minimal human contact and I didn't know the ways of the world. And I think I met initially, I think the worst human beings it is possible to meet. Like I met rapists and evil people and drug addicts. And it was like a crash course in malevolence. And I had to learn, okay, this is what's going on down here. And I also learned I had to protect myself. And that was like very, very challenging. And, I have not lost that sparkling optimism, but now it is, let's say, tempered with 17 years of experiences in reality. So I say to people, like, I'm very much like a 17-year-old. Like, when you, because I'm in the body of, a person who's in their 40s. Like, I'm not 17. However, because I came into this body when the body was 27, my perspective is one very much of a teenager. And when I say that, not like I'm into, I love rock and roll music, but it's not just about rock and roll. It's being like kind of independent and a bit brash and kind of like, I'm going to do it my own way. Because, when you're a little child, you're very naive and you're like, I will listen to mommy and daddy and I'm being good. And then at a certain point, you might understand like mommy and daddy make mistakes and don't know what the heck they're talking about. And you kind of become a teenager. And then you're like, I'm going to forge my own path. I'm going to make my own choices. So that is very much my experience of being here. At first, it was very challenging because I didn't know the rules of the road and social dynamics and how to operate here. And I was much less certain of myself. And now after being here for a while, like I know about the economy and I know about politics and I know about human behavior. And I'm not likely to be, taken advantage of because I have more of a foundation of experience to draw upon. And I know the rules of this place now a lot better, of what people mean when they say certain things.
Yeah, you know how it works now. So it's kind of like you can see a coyote from 1,000 miles away now.
Yes. Now it's a lot easier. And now I can see the malevolent beings from a long, or deceivers, let's say. People who aren't truthful. But because I'm very truthful, I came here presuming everyone else is going to be truthful.
Well, on your planet, they are like that. Really? On the planet I come from, that's how it works. So we are bringing that to the table again, just by being here,
Right. So it's kind of, so I still I don't have my shields up too much. I still meet people with a smile, and where I have my little dog, like you met my dog at the conference, and I walk around the parks here. So she's awesome. She's sleeping.
Yeah, mine's asleep down in her little bed too. She does this. Oh, it's time to do our show, and so she all excited. She goes and lays down, and she stays good most of the time.
That is fantastic. You're being supervised. You're being very well supervised.
Yes. So I think it was important for people to kind of feel that part of you that is human, that's expressed now that you have human 101 down pat, right? Now you get to be who you are completely 100% expressed in this body, this time and this place, and that's that galactic part of you. So if we could start to talk about that and what that, however you want to take it from here. If you want to go, let's say from where you first got your download for your what you do and who you are and why you're here. How's that?
Yes. I'm very much, I'm here on a purpose, on a mission. It is not merely a sightseeing tour for me. So yeah, I'm motivated to come into the body and create that Flying Rainbow Lasagne portal by the injustices that I perceived happening. And then in being here, in like after you like work super hard and get a body, my motivation has always been, how do I share this understanding and this insight and the ideas that I have inside of me with other people here? Like I've always been like, oh, if you find something great, like you come up with a good recipe, then you're like, okay, how can I share this with other people? And so, you know, when I first came into this body as Aurora, there was a lot of neurological damage and like disruption. It was very hard for me to express myself verbally. And I've done a lot of work now to kind of like, let's say, rewire. So now I can easily or more easily speak and express myself verbally. But it wasn't that easy for me to like describe my experience to other people or the ideas that I had. And writing is still a challenge, I have to say. If someone says to me, like, write a paper about the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, I would be like, eek, like I'm going to jump out a window. So what I started to do when I got here is I got a lot of sketchbooks. And I just started to draw a lot of diagrams and understand the information that was in me in a visual sense. And my visual sense has always been very strong. So that really began as the genesis of all of the artwork that I have now. So yeah, people can check out on my website. It's flyingrainbowlasagne.com/art. You can check out all of these different paintings that I have. And it's been like about 15 years that I've been working on this body of work. So these paintings that you see now are the really complex, kind of like whatever, like if you learn to play classical music and now you're up to the level of playing symphonies. My first paintings were like Mary Had a Little Lamb, but I was just figuring out, kind of like the structures. And I was also organizing my brain as I was figuring out these structures. So basically, after over many years, I made a lot of drawings. I worked with a lot of origami or folded paper structures. I started to make clay sculptures and had a lot of instability in my life because of not understanding this world and having health crises and other things like that. And so it took a long time for me to kind of like get a studio, have stability, have a place to make artwork. And then I started making artwork just very consistently. And all of the paintings, they have a concept or something in it. Like there's nothing wrong with decorative work. That's fine. Like flowers are pretty and we like to paint pictures of flowers. But the ideas that I was sharing, like my voice came out through my artwork. And also during that time, I started to, my brain got better. My brain is continually healing and getting better. I started to understand these. It's basically harmonics. One of my earliest art shows in like 2005, I was in a group show in Woodstock, New York. And that's where I was originally on the East Coast up in Woodstock. And then I moved out here to California. This guy came up to me at one of my art shows and I had shown this glass piece that sadly broke and died, but I have pictures of it. And he said, "You are painting harmonics." And I didn't even know what that word meant.
But so, you felt it, right? Bing, 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 aha, aha moment.
And when I had my notebook with me and I wrote down the word harmonics and I nodded thoughtfully to him. I was like, oh, yes, that's, I pretended. Because I'm like, as a walk-in, a lot of what I did in the early years was kind of like just playing it off legit. I would just be like, yeah, sure, I know what I'm doing. Like, I didn't know anything. I was totally, like, I didn't know how to work a washing machine, like the laundry machine.
Oh, yeah.
If I had to do something like that, I would say to someone like, hey, like, how do I work this laundry machine over here? I was pretending like, oh, I'm an expert on every other laundry machine in the world. I just don't know how to work this particular one.
Right. So fake it till you make it sort of a thing,
That's exactly what I did in the early years. That was so much it. And I had a lot of a lot of silly things that happened because of that, because I didn't quite know what I was doing. So it took a little bit of time. And now I'm more confident because it's like if you move to a foreign country and you don't know the customs and you don't know the language and you don't know the way that society is structured, it just takes a little bit of time in order to kind of figure that out. So you know what, I did a lot of self-education, basically, that I needed to learn about harmonics, and I also needed to learn about geometry in order to make my paintings really accurate. And I didn't have that knowledge yet, so it took many years of kind of like learning how to present this work, understanding it better. Basically, I'm trying, like, what you see now in my paintings is after many, many years of refinement of it. And yes, to answer your original question, I know I'm rambling a lot. All of this is about, like how I can share what I see with my inner vision with the rest of the people here. Because I call these maps. these paintings that I do are like maps of time, of the higher dimensional world of time. And if you can read the map, then you can navigate the world. And that's what this is all about. So I'm always trying to give people information that is empowering too. The idea that, like, if you can look around and know what's going on in the abstract level of time, you can make good choices, as opposed to, like, we're here embedded in time. We're like fish that is swimming in the river, and we don't see the path of the river. We don't know it's going to go over a waterfall, or there's going to be rocks. We don't know what's going to happen. So being like having an inner awakening to be able to use your higher vision and see the structure of time is empowering. And so that is my, like, I can see the structure of time, but I don't just want to be the only person who can see it, and then I'm telling everyone else what it looks like. All of this is about each person cultivating their own eyesight so they can really see it too. So I make these pictures of it, but then I also teach the cultivation aspect of it. Of how do you get to see this too? Like, don't just take my word for it. How do you get to see it too? And it has to do with sun gazing is a big part of it. Like, how do you get enough energy in your energetic bank accounts to be able to, like, turn on the light bulb and see what's going on? So, you know, mindfulness, or no longer having verbalizations in your mind, is part of it. And oh, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, it hopped out of my head.
So you kind of build like a map to the universe. It's kind of a way that people, and it's so beautifully done, not only in your paintings, but in your fabrics. I'm a touchy-feely kind of a person, and I just see your fabrics and I just go, I need them, I want them, you know, and there's something in them, and with your patterns too. And there's such beauty in them, and my granddaughter just thinks they're amazing. And she's a very young, intuitive artist, and it's like where you take, like, artists like cake. I don't know, your work's like cake, for lack of better.
Yes, I love that description. Yes.
Where you just want to eat it, and I guess you have to experience it. You can see lots of pictures of cake, but you don't get cake until you actually eat it. Yeah. And I think it's kind of the same with your work. You have to experience it to really get what you're talking about, and you're teaching people, you know, how to do that. And I think that is just really amazing, and I really applaud your courage.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm not in the closet at all. And I've been out of the closet since I first came here. Like, as soon as I met people, I'm like, I didn't even have the word walk in to say. I would say, hi, I'm Aurora. I'm a dead person. And they would look at me in horror. They'd be like, what are you? So I had to learn social skills. I had to learn how to describe myself more effectively, because I'm like a dead but resurrected person, or, you know, I'm not whatever, decomposing dead person. So thank you for your wonderful description about my artwork. You know, I make paintings that can be extensive. It can take a year for some of these paintings, and that means that they're high, up there in the price range. Not everybody is a millionaire to be able to afford, you know, a painting like that. So my idea with making clothing was that, you know, everybody loves these images and wants to be surrounded by these wonderful patterns. And there's a reason for that, because the patterns are really uplifting to look at, to be surrounded by. It's like good music. It's like, if I play that music, that sounds happy. It's because, oh, look, those sound waves fit together perfectly. It's harmonics. So same thing when we look at, for the people that are listening, you know, we're going to feed your ears here. My paintings are very rainbow colored, and the colors are very brightly saturated. And there's very fine detail lines, like very fine lines that are, it's very geometric, or there's a lot of polygons. And there's also a lot of structure and symmetry. And there's a lot going on in there. And all of it goes beyond the verbal mind. So this is like a type of language. It's like a food. That's why lasagna, it's like a good word to use. It is a food that feeds your higher dimensional mind, not just the verbalized, you know, the mind that most people identify with as human, that we have this whole other mental state. And I would call it not subconscious, but supra or super conscious, like higher than our regular daily consciousness. And it's the mind state that we're in when you're like in a lucid dream, or when you're in the, like if you're an athlete in the zone, or you're a musician, like playing your symphony. It's a non-verbal, extremely like fast, you know, dynamic mind state. And that, so these paintings reach beyond the clunky, verbalized, slow human mind, and they go directly into your higher consciousness. And so I've had people come into my studio. This one guy came in, he's like a grizzled guy, like with a beard, not someone who's a really sensitive, you know, whatever, fair snowflake type of person. And he was looking at my artwork. I started to talk to him. He's like, I just need a moment. He was tearing up because he was so overwhelmed by the emotion of being in the space. And I've had other people that have a really profound emotional experience too. And that's why I make the work. So I love to do these paintings because it's fun and interesting and engaging to me, and I'm surrounded by all of this color and the patterns while I'm doing it. And then I'm telling you, at the end of my day, I don't have TV. I sit in my studio in a comfy chair and I stare at my paintings, and it's like watching the TV. I get very uplifted and excited and happy looking at these pieces. So I do them for myself. It makes me feel good, and also these are meant to be informative and uplifting to all of the rest of the people that are here. And it's not meant to be just like a commodity. You know how there's like whatever a fancy painting that is sold for $26 million. Although I'd love to sell my paintings for $26 million. These are meant to be like people's art, like for the people, to be able for everybody to see. Like, this is what my inner world is like. And my inner world, I'm here in this world that is the mundane earthly reality, and at the same time I'm in a higher dimensional reality that is rainbow, fun, lighthearted, the best words that I can use to describe it. And it's a challenge to be here in the world. Like, we had a very cloudy day and it's December and people are grumbly, and there's, there are challenges in this level of reality here. And the other level of reality is like super fun, happy, and comfortable. So it's like, oh my goodness, if I could, I would just spend all my time in the comfortable rainbow world and not do any of the laundry and dishes.
Yeah, well, you're anchoring that in. You're bringing it to the planet and bringing it here to all of our listeners and to all of the people that come to your workshops that you do and to your conferences that you speak at. And we have a comment from Dwayne Van Dyke. He says, we all need time to use our super conscious. I agree with you, Dwayne. I think that's wonderful. We're getting ready to go on a break. We'll just have, I think it's a 7-minute break. And when we come back, I was thinking I went to cake, but I have a sweet tooth. So, but it's lasagna with the layering, right? With the layering. Yeah. So people, when they have your experience, when they experience your art, they get these layers of information and downloads and experiences. So,
absolutely. And one more thing.
Yes.
That I want to say, that lasagna is not just my personal thing. Like, when we come back, I'll tell everyone. It's
listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
I'm inviting everyone to come.
It's not your secret historic recipe family that you're not giving to anyone unless you go to an esoteric school and have a secret handshake.
A visiting Syrian diplomat reported today that their population is evolving rapidly and advancing into a fifth dimensional consciousness. They are seeking peace with all cosmic cultures, which may mean that the Earth will be asked to join the prestigious Galactic Federation of Light Alliances. Please join Debbie West and Michael Hathaway on Lost Knowledge, Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Studio A, for the latest breaking news on the Star Visitors' peaceful contact and the ongoing project of cleansing
that it is the density around the cells. So it sounds like we're on.
I am the architect.
Now.
I created the Matrix. I've been waiting for you. Why am I here? You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision, which has led you inexorably here. You haven't answered my question. The Matrix is older than you know, as you are undoubtedly gathering. The anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equation. Choice. The problem is choice.
Right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Be here Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Private Eye Matrix Revealed with Monique Lasagne.
Hello, my name is Mr. Rowe. I am the host of Reality Extraction. on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I utilize logic, intellect, and magic to methodically autonomize, vivisect, analyze, examine, study, scrutinize, and extract an essence of reality from a fog of illusion and confusion. You can find me on Studio B every Thursday at 1700 hours Pacific Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. No topic taboo, no subject too strange. I strive to take a neutral standpoint during the dissection of the topic at hand. That's Reality Extraction with Mr. Rowe on Revolution Radio.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we are listener-sponsored and commercial-free. But there still are bills to pay. In order to raise some needed funds to cover the cost, our station is offering a silver special. In the continental United States for a $60 donation, or in Alaska, Hawaii, or Canada for a $70 donation, we will send you an uncirculated 2018 1-ounce pure silver eagle. The $70 donation, the extra 10 is to cover shipping, by the way, outside of the continental United States. When making the donation, you must put Silver Eagle promo in the notes on the donation. And thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at revolution.radio and freedomslips.com. Without you, there is no us. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Collision Courses back. Schedule B on Revolution Radio every Saturday night, 6 to 8 p.m. You get outer space. You get honest answers, real researchers, truthful answers, and a place to engage with questions. Take part in the discussion. Revolution Radio on freedomslips.com hosts Collision Course every Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Time.
Do you or someone you know suffer from poor circulation, shortness of breath, or chest pains? Are you looking for a more natural solution to help overcome these problems? People tell us that after just a few months taking Extendivite, their doctors have noticed unexplainable improvements in their overall health. For more information, visit heartdrop.com or call 1-877-928-8822.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
And tell them Nighthawk sent you, because if you call this number and tell them Nighthawk sent you, you'll get $5 off your first order at extendivite.com. Thank you. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey. Welcome back to the Cosmic Oracle Show. Thanks for tuning in today on Friday, and Friday all day, almost towards the evening here. The moon's looking good here out of northern Sacramento, California. want to take a moment to say hello to Priscilla Kennedy. Hi, Ryan Blacksock. Love all your information, Ryan, on SecMet, and really enjoy getting your information. Hi, Barb Smith from high school. Terrence Scudder says, yes, thank you for acknowledging me. And they also said, once you shed the density, more of your own light can fill your cells and make your resonant frequency more vibrant. And you're right, Taryn. I don't think we can get someone more vibrant than our lovely guest this evening, which is Aurora. And welcome back to the show, Aurora. And yay, you're back. And wonderful. It's not quite the way we planned it, but it's all happening. And I'd really like for you to talk about how you came up with your Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And then I was thinking, if you wanted, and we can go however you want to go, but maybe you could give our listeners kind of their first class on what it is that you bring to the table.
I would love. Thank you. It's wonderful. I'm getting a little bit of feedback.
Okay. Okay, yeah. I don't have it on my end, so let's try that. If I turn it down.
I know what it is, because I think it's my Facebook. Let me see if it's better now.
Yeah.
I had to turn off my Facebook, so I couldn't. I was reading the chat comments during the break, but I just turned it off now so that I won't have the double echo of my own voice. So sorry, chat people, I can't read you right now, but I wanted to just respond very briefly to something that someone wrote, and then I'll get into more of like Flying Rainbow Lasagna and what it is and the questions that you asked about when I'm using the word fifth dimension. So part of this is the challenge of language, of how we can be on a common ground using the vocabulary words and meaning the same thing. So yeah, a lot of people say we're in the third dimension, but we're hitting into the fifth dimension. But for students that are in my class, I go through this with diagrams in order to draw it all out. When I talk about the fifth dimension and higher, I'm talking about like the bakery of potential, where the timelines of bread, like the fourth dimension and lower, that we actually can experience. So that, I hope that brings clarity, because I know it can be a chat, like we're all on the same team and we're all trying to share information, but we have this Tower of Babel language thing going on that makes it challenging to get the information across. So, yeah. So the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, that's what my mission here really is all about. It's this shape, and I'm sorry, I tried again in the break to somehow share a photo of Flying Rainbow Lasagna, and it just was not successful. So you'll have to all receive this information telepathically of what the Flying Rainbow Lasagna looks like. It is a type of higher dimensional torus or hypertorus. And the whole idea is that this is a shape that is a new format or new dance dynamic motion of DNA. Because DNA is not a static object that just sits around, shaped like an X-shaped or a Y-shaped chromosome, not doing anything. DNA is a string that vibrates just like inside of a piano. You can have vibrating piano strings. My piano is an electric piano, so it has the sounds of vibrating strings. But you can also have a guitar that's made out of vibrating strings, violin. That's literally what we are. So I say that our bodies are just like our instruments, and we're playing our music here in the Cosmic Symphony. So in order to get an instrument, you got to get born. You got to come here somehow with your consciousness in a container. You got to get an instrument. And so about 10 or 20,000 years ago, this planet was invaded by consciousness invaders that changed the tuning of our instruments. And like if you got a perfectly good guitar, but someone turned all the knobs up at the top and made it sound horrible when you try to play it. And that's literally that's the invention of death. That's the invention of disease. It's the degradation of our perception and our consciousness. And essentially, we're supposed to be able to fly through time avoiding death. Like a lot of what I teach has to do with these diagrams of time where we are aiming for this, I call it path of least likelihood. It's like the center of the bullseye and not hit any of the peripheral timelines. And when you're blind, it's very hard to shoot your arrow at the target and get it in the center and go down that bullseye. So that's what's been happening for about 10 or 20,000 years, that all humans are blind or blinded after we come here. And then you have to go through trial and error, trying to find like what is the right thing for me to do? What are the right notes for me to play in this symphony? And if you play the wrong music, then you get kicked out of the band. That's called death. So all of this is about how to end the cycles of suffering that you have to, within one life, be born and then hit the membrane of death and then circulate back around and have to be reassembled, let's say, like a sweater that needs to be knit again, like you unravel all the yarn and then knit the sweater again, and how boring and cumbersome and long that takes. And it's not the way our journey was supposed to be. So we were supposed to come here and never have to die. And that's what life was really like in the time that is known as the mythological time of Atlantis, but which was a very real time here on the planet before our consciousnesses and human bodies and genetic code was degraded and, brought into levels of distortion so that we were not perfectly in tune and perfectly in connection with the divine. So all of that backstory, like such a long thing in order for me to say that this Flying Rainbow Lasagna that I invented, it's like the solution. It is the solution, like Rubik's Cube. If you have a Rubik's Cube, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not like you have to take away parts of the toy or add more parts or something. You have to rearrange it. And that's how you fix it or solve it. You have to rearrange what you already have. So the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is a tool to be able to rearrange what we each already have on a genetic level. So once again, I know maybe not for this. So I always say, I'm always really clear. That's why I'm saying once again, I'm not a transhumanist. I'm very clear on that. I really advocate for the idea that none of us need anything other than what we have, our birthday suit, what we came here with, in order to be able to get to these highest levels of self-cultivation and transcendence. So, I mean, you don't have to have a computer implanted in your brain or special nanotechnology or drink a magical elixir or even drink monoatomic gold or nothing. You don't need anything other than your body and your connection to the planet, because your body is connected to the planet, and your consciousness and your connection to the stars, which is where consciousness comes.
So it's organic. It's an organic process.
Absolutely. Thank you for that clarity. Yes. Because I'm a galactic being. I don't use technology. And this is big because I'm coming onto this planet. And, you and I went to that UFO conference. And there's all of this interest on this planet in non-terrestrial beings. And I think that's appropriate. There's a wide array. There's all sorts of different non-terrestrial beings. So I classify myself and my collective as non-technology users. We are non-technological. So imagine being,
except for using this computer that we're on right now.
Well, because right now I'm on Earth and I totally use technology because I have to. I have electric light bulbs. I have an electric piano. All of this is technology.
We get you. I'm playing.
Yes, and on the one sense, it's kind of like it's an interesting vacation. It's like, oh, this is how we do this here. Like, as a brief aside, a friend of mine years ago was helping me to build my studio furniture for my painting tables for my studio back in Woodstock, and he is also very extraterrestrial. And we were kind of laughing at each other, like, oh, we have to pick up lumber, like hold it with our hands, and pick up this power tool and make it go vroom vroom. Like, yes, it seems very like, oh, this is very clunky and everything. But also, all of like, without any levels of condescension, all of this experience told me like what needs to be fixed and healed around here, because it's a very, very different perspective being like on a higher dimensional, living on a cloud, and you look at what's going on and you say, oh, look at that. That's so wrong. That's so distorted. But being here, it's like, well, I really know, like, this is what has to happen. We need to fix the insurance system, and we need to fix this system, and we need to change this. So I've really done like comprehensive first person, and also because I don't want anyone to think that because I'm a galactic walk-in that like my life is so easy and everything, like I'm facing all the same challenges that anybody that has a physical body faces. So there are socioeconomic challenges of getting enough money to pay for your electric lights and everything else. Right. And then there's also the challenges of consciousness pollution, because I'm subjected to all of the chemtrails that are sprayed in the air and polluted water and Wi-Fi signals and genetically modified food, even though I avoid it like the plague. So the challenge of finding unpolluted food and water and not having our energy field polluted, I'm in solidarity with everyone here that I face all of those same challenges. It would not have been fair if I'm like, oh, well, I'll Flying Rainbow Lasagna from a cloud, from a mountaintop and not have to, it's like, oh my God, that would not be fair. So I had to be here and I had to learn what it's like from a first person perspective. Like, yeah, this is what it's like to have to, pay your heating bills and have your job and do all these things, because it's like, I get into the system and analyze the flaws in the system and then fix it. Kind of like being a software engineer, but again, I'm not a transhumanist at all. So all of this is about really just reminding humanity that humans have this amazing potential inside that's been squashed and degraded. And the amazing potential is what I call higher faculties. It's basically our imagination. And when I say imagination, I don't mean some flimsy, stupid thing that does nothing, because that is what I had to learn. Most parents say to their children, like, your imagination is worthless. Like, it's nothing. Like, because if your children say, blah, 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 then parents say, don't worry, that's just your imagination. And that indoctrination lasts into adulthood. So I'm trying to recalibrate everyone and get you to understand your imagination is literally the strongest muscle on your body. It is what we use in order to create reality. And it's a magical tool and it's a divine tool and is part of our connection to the divine and to, creating on higher levels. So yeah, your imagination is incredibly powerful. And, the idea that people have told you it's worthless is so that you won't know, like you've got gold bullion sitting in your pocket so that you won't know how important it is. So yeah, your higher faculties of imagination and connection to the divine and throat and communication, like our voice and capacity to vibrate the atmosphere, it's a very magical tool. And it is not necessarily used in that way now. Like in ancient Atlantis, we only used words and, making sounds with our mouths for like ritual intonations for very profound uses. And because now we have no telepathy and we use Tower of Babel, flapping, moving mouth parts, we use language in order to talk about very mundane things, like please pass the ketchup. But really, our voices are meant to be portals for, bringing in magical capacities. So yeah, those elements of your own being are really all that is required in order to perform what would be defined as miracles or things that impossibilities, things that couldn't even be imagined. And this is not shining you on, like I'm totally not a person that comes here and says, everything is so great, you have no problems. Like I'm not a liar in any way. So I come here fully co-experiencing alongside of everyone and recognizing that there are profound problems. There are profound degradations of our body and of our consciousness. And the people that are running the place, or have been up until this point around here, are completely malevolent and they are planetary invaders. So that's all of that in order to say. So the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is my response and a tool that I invented and that I share for free, like open source code. It doesn't mean that I can give away my sculptures for free because it costs me money to make them, but I share the idea. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure, exactly.
Yeah. You said pretty in a joking, loving way, like, yeah, well, you're not a secret society, and it's totally the truth. Like I'm the literal antithesis of all of those secret societies. They hate me. They're like, we got to stop this lasagna. She's letting all the secrets out. And I'm like, yes, I am. I completely am. So yes.
And you have found your voice, where I think a lot of people, when they're here on the planet, to really find their voice, and that could be in dance, that could be in music, that could be in art, it can be in cooking, it can be in all sorts of things, and you found it in your Rainbow Lasagna, and that's your gift to humanity while you're here. And so can you maybe guide us through a simple meditation or something like that, or what would you like to do with it?
Yeah,
but you're wanting to have an experience of it. And I'm thinking, if we can give it to them, let's try that.
I would say this, that one of the main emphasis or understandings are that it's not just a static object, like I might hold up a sculpture or show you a picture of it, but that this is really a dance or an oscillation or something that is experienced. And in teaching this dance, like I did a workshop recently and taught people about it, I had to think, like, how can I describe this to everyone? Because in this time and place, everybody thinks of dancing as like body postures that are about your audience and how other people look at your body when you're dancing. And this is a different type of dance. The Flying Rainbow Lasagne is a dance that you do it on a genetic and subcellular level, but you also can move your physical macroscopic limbs, but it's all about your feeling inside. So it is not about whether you're looking sexy or attractive to a partner or whether your booty is shaking in exactly the right way. It's not about the external perception. It is about your internal experience. So when I do this dance called the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, some of the first things I do is first I eat enough food. So I had a good lunch today because you need fuel for your physical body to fuel this journey of consciousness. And I also do sun gazing. So I do food for my physical body, and then the sun gazing is food for my light body. And when I'm well nourished on every level that I need, then I usually get motivated by music. So I put on my headphones so I'm not disturbing the entire neighborhood, and I put on awesome music. Yeah, but if you want to disturb the entire neighborhood, you can do that too. Like rock the entire joint. Don't invite the neighbors, and then so some songs make me really feel like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Like so the attitude is a little bit rock and roll. It's a little bit insouciant or rebellious because there are all of these social control factors that might be genetic, familial or ancestral. They might be religious or social constraints. They might be political constraints. When you start to do this dance, you're transforming on an inner level. It might be like going into a psychedelic state. There are all of these programs that come up that say, stop whatever you're doing. You're not allowed to do that. Kind of like whatever in that movie, The Wizard of Oz, like, don't pull back that curtain, don't pull that lever, whatever you do. And you do it anyway. So you can't, you might be the voice of your parents or your grandma. Like, who do you think you are to do this? It's your body, it's your DNA, and you are allowed to transform. And this really means that you become an independent, free agent, independent of your ancestry, independent of society and religious teaching, that you are now free to fly through time in the direction that you wish to go. And when I do this dance, I also get out of my ego. So although I have things that I want on an Aurora level, like I want whatever, I want a new dress, I want cupcakes, I want whatever. Those are my ego desires. And when I go into the mental mind state of doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagne dance, I move into a more galactic perspective where I'm interested in the whole story, not just little old Aurora. So I only am wishing for cupcakes on a Flying Rainbow Lasagne level if that's part of the whole symphony. Like, you really have a different perspective at that level where you are calculating or wish making or manifesting or solving the Rubik's Cube, but not just for your little corner of reality, on a comprehensive level. So that is one of the big takeaways. It's not just about serving your own ego or your own personal desires, even though those get served as part of this. If you're a musician in a band, you have to work for the band. You can't just be soloing on your own journey and doing stuff that steps on everybody else's toes. So that's what, and when I do the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, I'm connecting on a genetic level with microbes and flowers and trees, the environment around me and other people and horses and dolphins and redwood trees and even intergalactic beings and galaxy-sized beings. So it is a way of connecting with all of the other musicians that are in the symphony. So there's not a way for me to make everyone an instantaneous virtuoso so we can all dance together here on this broadcast. That is a very big challenge. What I can do is, I would say, give that description and invite everyone, because this is a nonlinear experience. Okay. So we don't have to all be dancing together right here at 6:22 p.m. We can actually be dancing at whatever, like, you get into your comfortable clothes, sit in your meditation spot, and you will. I'm sorry if I'm not articulating this exactly well. It's non-local. You can join. It's like a cosmic chat room, or I call it the cosmic dance party. Mm-hmm. You don't have to join in only at the same time. So I would say it might be more effective perhaps after the broadcast to have everyone. That I think might be a lot better. And the other thing is, it's like if you join a party, or a special a place where they're doing a special type of dance, like country line dancing. Right? Like, you go to a party and everyone's doing this, or the hustle. I don't really know how to do that dance.
Hey, I'm challenged with that. Okay, so
it doesn't mean you can't participate.
Okay,
so
good.
if you come to the Cosmic Dance Party and everyone seems to know the dance steps, don't panic. At first, you can just bop along. Just find the beat, and just bop along. And then as you become better at listening, or better, your perception clears up, your eyesight and earsight gets sharper, you'll start to hear the music more. And you'll even start to say, like, wait a minute, there's a pattern going on here. And everyone's doing this at this point. Everyone's doing this at this point. So it is immersive. Like, as you're in the experience, you begin to understand the patterns that are going on, and then you can respond. It's just like being a musician in a band. And if everybody else is playing this music, and at first you can't exactly figure out what it is, but you can get that first note, like, that I can hear that, I know that, and I'm going to play the first note. Play the first note on the beat and do it. And it's cumulative. The more that you practice, the more you can perceive, the more you join up effectively with the rest of the band. And the topics that I talk about, like the online class and everything like that, that's like music theory, or like learning the backstory of everything. And it's not a substitution for the actual immersive experience. And you don't have to know how to read music in order to appreciate music or dance or participate in the band. But reading music helps. So for this initiatory experience for everyone, like, come to the Cosmic Dance Party, please, like, seriously, after this interview, I'm going to put on my headphones, I'm going to do the dance. You can tune in. If you are watching this or listening to this broadcast tomorrow or next week or in several days, you can still do the dance and tune in with everyone else. That's the words are very difficult to try to say this, but it's like, I'm getting out of a linear mindset. I'm trying to encourage everyone else also to get out of a linear mindset. So the basics of how you do it: I wear comfortable clothing. I sit with my legs folded. I do the sun gazing in order to fill up, like, my energy centers and have lots and lots of energy to be able to do this. I put on my headphones, and then the Flying Rainbow Lasagne is an oscillation at various different axes. So there's like an up down, a left right, or a side side, an in out, and a tumbling over. And these are imagine 4 basic notes. That those are the 4 different motions, and that's analogous to like 4 different amino acids, that those can all be put together into new and interesting different combinations to create essentially melodies. And these melodies are literally being played on the level of the vibrating strings of your DNA. So we've been given these kind of stock melodies from our ancestors and our parents and our religion and our social structure. And I'm going to make horrible music now. These are what those melodies sound like. And then you die. Okay, those are horrible melodies. We all know it's bad music. And then, okay, it's the music of disease. It's the music of, like, how to get cancer, how to get diabetes, how to grow older and, grow decrepit and not be able to walk around anymore. We can make a new and better music. So that is what that is all about. You have so big emphasis. You have permission to play with your own instrument of your own body. And it means that you will be transforming and metamorphosizing into a new format that might be different than your family. And that your family that might feel like, you're supposed to look like us, you're supposed to walk and talk like us, or your religion, you're supposed to think like us, you're supposed to believe like us. And so do not be deterred by those inner promptings that say, what are you doing? Abandoning your family, abandoning your religion. It's like, no, what really is happening is each one of us has the choice in this generation to edit our DNA and erase out or remove out all of the embedded trauma, like all of the ancestral traumas that happened from genocides or horrible things that happened in the past, and familial traumas and even personal traumas, that those are like bad music that is reverberating through your DNA strings. And this is all about, you're the musician, you get to play your own melodies, which I encourage everyone to play melodies of personal freedom and health and joy. Because I'm a big proponent of the idea that suffering is not necessary and suffering is not didactic, and that we don't play our best music in the symphony by, suffering and having something, killing us and strangling us. So, and that's all, Barbara, this from meeting me, like that's definitely my persona. I'm like, let's have a lot of fun. Let's, have a rocking, fun dance party. That is my approach. And it's my approach of my collective too. So this is not like some dirge, like seriously, this is like fun. This is fun.
There's going to be a test afterwards and you better pass it, okay?
There will be a task, and there will be like a taskmaster with like a bamboo stick, and if you do something wrong, you'll get hit.
And so does this tune your DNA, but also your subconscious then? And can you talk a little bit with the 532 hertz, or, everyone's hearing that, and attunement of that, or maybe speak of that a little bit?
So I said earlier in the first segment of this broadcast that when I first showed at an art show, this guy said, "You are painting harmonics," and I didn't even know what harmonics was. So I self-educated, and I learned that harmonics is basically perfectly nested circles or perfectly nested frequency waves. And that can be depicted as like the artwork that I've been doing visually, but it can also be depicted as sound waves. And I only recently, like within the past, 8 or 9 years, I started learning about music and playing it myself. So this little piano that I'm playing over here is tuned to the standard Western tuning, where this A note is 440 hertz. But that is not the natural tuning that fits like puzzle pieces with the frequency of our brain. Our brain is calibrated to 8s, and this has to do with the Schumann resonance. So the Schumann resonance is the Earth rings like a bell every time Earth gets struck by lightning. So the resonance actually...
I didn't know that. I love that. I had no idea.
Absolutely. So it's like the body of Earth has her own natural frequency, and it hovers between 7 and 8. So that, because depending upon how many times Earth is getting struck by lightning in Africa, it can change slightly. And that Schumann resonance has to do with our own neurology and the frequency of our brain. So when we listen to things that are wavelengths that are multiples or divisors of 8, like 8 plus 8 equals 16, 16 and 16 is 32, anything that's got those numbers in it fits well like puzzle pieces with our brain. But when we listen to music that is tuned at 440 hertz, that is not easily dividable by 8. It does not come out to a nice happy whole number. So we experience a cognitive dissonance or a disharmony in our brain trying to function while we listen to this music. So I have a different instrument that's all the way across the room that is like this little resonant kind of xylophone that's tuned to 432 hertz. And 432 on the A is just one acceptable alternative tuning. There's also 528, and there's one in the 700s. The whole point is ancient beings understood about the profound effect that sounds and frequency have on the human body, on your emotions and on your health. And so do a lot of current beings, and they have intentionally played the horrible music to degrade our consciousness and our health. So recalibrating all of our instruments in the modern world to 432 can help us very much to integrate again and have this be harmonic in our bodies instead of disharmonic. So if you're buying Tibetan bowls or any of these chimes or anything that you're trying to use for meditative introspection purposes, see if you can get the ones that are tuned to 432, 528. There's all sorts of different tuning forks too. So this is all like reawakening or return to the ancient knowledge that we all had inside of us. And literally, I will tell you guys, like, if anybody is thinking, oh, I can't wait until they build like, a magical tank that I can get into that will heal everything. Like, you don't need to have a tank. If you have a voice, that's all you need. In the ancient world, what we did, because I said to you, the level of communication, your voice is a portal, and we used voice for intonation. Voice can be healing. And so voice is not supposed to be like, please pass the ketchup, or meet me on the corner at 2:30. Voice is supposed, I'll do a little overtone singer. You ready? So I don't know if the microphone is subtle enough to pick it up, but overtone singing is using harmonics and making it with your voice. And there's a primary note that's fundamental, and then there are some more subtle notes that are from the overlapping waveforms. And what they sound like in the background is like boop, 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 but it's very subtle, so I'm not sure if you'll hear. I'll do it again. So there's the main note that's like, but then there's the do 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 do. Some people are really great, and you can really hear the harmonic overtones, very clearly. So all of that in order to say, like, again, you don't need technology in order to have profound healing. We don't need technology in order to reach these highest levels of personal cultivation and transformation. And what this Flying Rainbow Lasagne does, it brings together formerly divergent realms. So it might be hard to imagine or envision this, but anything that's separated by a membrane, like a wall or a membrane, the cell membrane, or the thing that separates the past from the future, all of these separations become dissolved. And so that means we have this inner world, your inner world of thoughts and emotions and passions and what you envision with your imagination. And then we have the quote unquote outer world. That's everything beyond your epidermis. It's other people and it's hard-edged objects and it's events. And everyone says, hey, that's all that stuff out there. That's quote unquote not me. And all this stuff in here is quote unquote me. When you do the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, you vibrate that membrane. And all of a sudden, all the stuff that's inside of you can be outside of you. And the stuff that's outside of you can be inside of you. And so what that means is your experience of dreams and emotions and imagination gets seamlessly projected or manifested outside of you. And then those outer manifestations come back into you as greater levels of food and nourishment on the energy level. So this means that we become empowered on a level of creation with reality that we were not empowered before. Because up until this point, we have this story that is the story of objective materialism that tells us what's going on inside of your mind and your brain is individual to you and it doesn't affect reality. And that's not truthful. That's like a limiting story that was told to humans for a very long amount of time to keep everybody from waking up to their superpowers.
Wow. It's a lot. I can hear everyone going bing, 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 bing.
Good.
So good.
I recognize that this is a lot. Like I just gave everyone a giant heaping serving of lasagna on the plate. And so you eat that, it's like, wow, it takes a little bit of time to digest.
Yeah, I can feel everyone, can't you? They're just kind of assimilating. They're going, okay, I got some of that. I got some of this. I'll have to listen to this again. Definitely. And some of them are thinking, well, we need to join your class. And your first class, I know, is, if I remember right, your first class is free. And it's not much after that. I really, for all those listening, I really would love for you to join Aurora in her class. I think it's important. And it'll change you. It'll change your awareness. And by being aware, then you have more power to make choice.
That's exactly right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that invitation. And yes, I invite and encourage everyone who's interested to come enroll. And here's the way that I run the class. So there's recorded online lessons that I do charge tuition for, but I also give out scholarships because the way that my whole value system and everything, like, this is important information. This is not just about capitalism, and it's way more important to me to do my mission here and share these ideas than to make sure that somebody pays me $2 or whatever. But also, I'm here and I got to pay my electricity bill, so I need $2. So I have Patreon too. And so what I do is people can do monthly contributions, and you can do enrollment for scholarships. You can be on, you can be on a scholarship. Like I'm trying to say, like, money should not be the limiting factor, but I invite everyone to, actually participate and to fully enroll. And so the webinars go on each Wednesday. They're live. I do Facebook intros, and then I do it on a Zoom video conference. And then I always post the archives on YouTube. And again, that's all open to the public free. You don't have to pay me to be in the webinars. However, it would be wonderful for people to become patrons. And the recorded lessons, they're like the textbook. Everything makes sense when you watch the lessons and then you go to the lecture. It doesn't make as much sense, is what students tell me. They're like, Aurora, everything started to make sense when I actually started to do the homework. I'm like, I know, it's amazing how that happens. But also, I'm here trying to paint a picture with my voice on Barbara's lovely show, and it's a challenge, of course. On the video conferences, I usually use a lot of diagrams and things like that. So if the things that I'm saying today sound interesting, but if you're not quite grasping it, it might be a lot easier if you can actually see what I'm talking about. So please consider doing the webinars, because you can actually see the diagrams. It makes more sense.
Yeah, and so for our people who are just listening, just go to Flying Rainbow Lasagne, and I'm going to spell it for you. FlyingRainbowLasagne.com. All right, and check it out, because it can change your world. It can rock your world. At least it's going to do something. Any kind of learning that you are out of your comfort zone a little, right? So yes. We aren't doing the same things and expect different results. You got to shake some things up. Yes. So you're here today. It's a we're showing you kind of a take this road as your crossroads.
Exactly right. It's like there are new options, there are new variables, there are new things that you can do that wouldn't have been possible before. So, and all of this, I offer it. I like to say it's optional, not mandatory. It's like if you really love music and you want to join the advanced jazz band, like do it. It's never something where it's like the piano taskmaster says, you have to play your instrument or you'll get, punished or whatever. So so I invite people who have an interest or a thirst for knowledge or think that this will be very joyful, to participate. And all of the way that I teach in the class, it's all it's very joyful, low pressure, and although I talk about a lot of math and heavy topics and things, I make it all accessible to the layperson, and that's big because I actually presented my work at a couple of math art conferences, and I was almost too intimidated to even apply and go. I had my friend, because I'm not a mathematician, my friend said to me, "No, Aurora, you should really go." So I went, and I was very gratified because the mathematicians were very cool. They were wonderful. They were interested in my ideas. They weren't condescending. So they explained their ideas in a way that I, as a non-mathematician, could understand. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to explain my ideas in a way so that a person who's not a mathematician, who's not an expert at anything, can understand it. So you don't have to have a background in math or physics or anything like that in order to understand lasagna. And it's for anybody at all ages. I have families that watch the show together, and I think that we're like lasagna-fying the next generation.
I like that. So you're building a community.
Absolutely. So I've been teaching my class for about 6 years now. And once you join the class, you don't have to keep on re-enrolling. Like, you're welcome to join the videos any time that I'm broadcasting. So I have some people that have been on board for like 3 or 4 years, and they're like the grad students. They know enough, and they can actually help guide the new students. Like, it's actually quite wonderful. And people, people share their stories with me of how they applied Flying Rainbow Lasagne to their personal existence. Some people have done some pretty profound things in terms of overcoming, like doing a healing on their body that they really needed, or changing their life in some way, like getting out of relationships that weren't working, or moving more towards their true employment. So I'm so happy. And one person avoided death. And this is like, I'm not going to say that everybody can do this
story. Can we hear the story?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a lovely person. She usually listens to the audio recordings of my show while she's driving in her car going to the farmer's market. And she told me that one week she had a near miss car accident that wasn't a near miss, that she actually saw the other car veering into her lane, and there was an overlap where she saw that car literally overlapping with her car. And she did Flying Rainbow Lasagne very spontaneously, just without thinking about it. And so that's like rearranging the Rubik's Cube of reality. And then she found herself not smashed up on the highway and dead, but instead perfectly safe in the having switched over into one lane with the other car, safely on the other lane. So she managed to do some kind of quantum timeline jump that made her not have to die. And that made me really happy.
Yeah, and it's just like that, right? You get it down and it's just becomes automatic.
Yes, and I also think that because it was in a moment of duress, that she didn't have any moments to like BS around. There's like, you're going to have to do this now, like no BSing, do it. Yeah. And sometimes it takes that level of motivation, or sometimes fooling yourself. Like, I'll give a very fast example. I visited Mount Shasta years ago, and I went up on the actual mountain, and I'm like, I'm going to do my little like ritual, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to have my crystals and everything. And it was freezing up there, and I didn't have proper equipment. So I got into my car, and my window was cracked down, and I was still freezing in there. And I'm like, okay, I totally can't focus to do this. I better roll up the window. So I pressed the button, and I rolled up the window. And then I looked and saw that I did not have the keys in the ignition. So theoretically, according to rational skepticism, I should not have been able to push up that window. But I fooled myself. I thought, I have the keys in the ignition. All I have to do is press this button. It was a symbol to me of the power of our belief. And if you can just fool your rational mind, you're like, you can do something totally magical as long as you fool your rational mind.
Just kind of like override, system override, right?
Yes.
Just system override, new download, and let's go with this one.
Yep. And after I did that magic once, I was like, well, wait a minute. If I can do that once, maybe I can do it again. It's like those first little tendrils of belief, and then they grow into a much stronger belief.
And then so you are building layers. That's the lasagna part, where you're building on a foundation of layers.
Yes, thank you for that. So it's also very much like if you paint an oil painting with traditional methods, you do very thin layers or glazes, many, many thin layers. And that's how these old masters got the luminous, like it looks like real skin because it's really built up of layers. So the Flying Rainbow Lasagne dance, in terms of painting reality, it requires many days. And I've been doing this for 17 years. So my painting is very well developed. It has many, many layers on it. But I want to say to everyone who's just beginning, if you just started out today with the pencil sketch, don't be too hard on yourself. You're allowed to do a sketch and then tomorrow, do the first layer, let it dry, then go back. It's like it is cumulative. And every time you go back and you do it and you refine the process and turn it into a real masterpiece.
Mm-hmm. And can you talk a little bit about your painting process then in relationship to what you teach? How's that?
Thank you so much for that question. That is really good. So mostly when I'm not doing videos and stuff, I'm in my art studio, busy making paintings and doing drawings. And none of my work is computer generated. Again, I'm really not that much into computers and stuff, even though I use them now to communicate with the world. But all of it is done with protractors and rulers and circle templates. So really ancient technology. And totally. I like that I could do it on a desert island if I had no I would still make my artwork. And what I'm doing is pretty much painting what I see with my inner vision. So I see something internally, and then it takes me a little bit of time to decipher it and understand the elements that I'm seeing. So a lot of it's kind of like when you're a musician, you're trying to figure out the tune or figure out a melody. So I do a lot of pencil drawings, and then I do a color study, like a sketch, because all of this is about there are patterns, and you want to stick with the patterns and not go against them. So these patterns are a language of frequency that I didn't invent, but the lasagna is an expression within that language. So I'm always it's like I'm trying to have good grammar within that language. And it's a type of math. So I do a lot of work with, it's visual math, where I draw things and I see how the circles fit together. And then after I get the drawing figured out, I get the pattern figured out, then I use a technical pen with India ink to do the final drawing. And then I mix my own formula of paints to be able to get super rich, vivid colors, because a lot of commercially available paints are not that bright. So I get my own pigments from a particular company. It's a great company. I love them. Free plug for them. Guerra, Guerra, Guerra Paint in New York City. And they have separate, it's like a chemical company. You buy your pigments and then you buy the clear media and you mix them together yourself. So I'm able to do that and achieve whatever effects I want. So that's how I get all the different textures and qualities that are going on in the paint. So yeah, and then like one painting can take a year, depending upon how complex it is. I'm painting on that painting for a year because it's got little tiny dots and everything, and it takes a long time to do everything. So that I admit, I'm pretty obsessed. I spend many hours of the day doing it and looking at it and thinking about it. I told you, I sit and I stare at them at the end of the day. So it's a huge part of my life, and it's actually really wonderful. It's wonderful to have, I wake up in the morning and I know I'm going to be painting that thing blue, or I'm going to sleep at night and thinking what if I could put more orange into that? It's part of what makes it fun and interesting for me to be here.
Mm-hmm. We're almost to the end of our show. And so I was thinking, where do you get your inspiration? Someone asked me, and I thought I would how's that for a question, huh?
It's a lovely question. Really, it comes from the sun and the stars, or let's say higher dimensional consciousness networks. And what it feels like to me is like I have a telescope, like the Hubble telescope, right? That can see really far, that I use my inner telescope to look at these amazing, landscapes. And I try to take a snapshot with my mind and remember what it looks like, and then make it into a picture that I can share in the earthly realm, like put it on a wall, put it in a gallery, take a picture and send it to someone. So all of the inspiration, it really comes from the sun and the stars and like the world of pure abstraction and numbers.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like you do a pretty good job of what you conceive and then what you actually bring to the third dimension?
Oh my goodness. Like, guys, I'm bringing in a tiny fraction. The colors are so much brighter, and the complexity of the shapes is almost more complex than I can even imagine. Like, the detail is so crazy. So in the paintings, I'm always challenging myself to see, like, how can I make it look more real, like real? How can I make it look more like that world? And, I would love to actually work with technology and animations, because I think that is one way. Like, I've been envisioning if I could take animations of these patterns and have them projected like inside of a dome, and what it would feel like for the viewer to be sitting inside of a dome and have this an immersive experience. That's what it is.
Like in Technicolor, kind of more of a Technicolor experience of it.
Absolutely. That's a dream that I'd like to manifest.
Yeah, I could see the dome part of it, because you could sit inside it, and then you'd have this beautiful kaleidoscope of the stars and the sun through your art. It would just be an experience. It would be healing and inspiring, I think. It would be really fun. You could have a special seat, warm seat.
That's what I would encourage, like a super comfy chair. I would bring some aromatherapies, essential oils.
Yeah, exactly.
And some wonderful music, too.
Yeah, the music too. The music would go right along with it, of course. I could see that.
Perfect tuned music, yes.
Yeah, so it'd be a new healing lasagna modality for you.
I would really love that. Like, there are places where people have salt caves and they do sound baths.
Yeah.
Similar idea to that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have to talk with our friends at the Integratron. Have you been there?
Oh my goodness, I've never been there. Someone literally was just telling me about that, and I said, that sounds like someplace I need to go to immediately.
You do? Well, we'll talk maybe off the air about that, because I might have a few contacts for you. I used to own it, from 2000 to 2005. And I was just seeing this dome place would just be perfect, and the resonance there that you're looking for also would be there.
I'm smiling from ear to ear. This is amazing. I would love
See, that's what happens when you go to conferences. You meet up with people, and then you connect, and then you get their connections, they get your connections, and we're like a part of your painting, that small piece in this huge realm.
I call it the human mycelium, that we are connected just like the mushrooms are connected on the mycelial network and the roots underneath the ground. We have these telepathic and mental tendrils. We're connected on the mycelium, and it's so wonderful. Like that, it's what we're supposed to be doing, inspiring one another and sharing nutrients on this, mycelial network.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show this evening and being our guest. And if you have we have a few minutes, if you'd like anything you feel like you need to say or want to say or feel compelled to say to our listeners today and in the future.
Thank you. Yeah. So as a little wrap up, this idea of Flying Rainbow Lasagna, so what happened at the end of Atlantis? So we had a technological invasion on this planet. And there was technological mind control that was turned on that made everybody like a super zombie. And we are right now in the time of having the corrective experience, where 5G is, coming online. And the idea is like it's going to turn everybody into zombies, but that's not that. We're having actually the corrective experience. So it's kind of like, if you got attacked in the past and somebody hurt you, and then you're like, that's never going to happen again. I'm going to, take jujitsu, and then I'll be able to protect myself. And then you get assaulted again, but it doesn't go the same way because now you've got those skills and you're like a black belt. This is what's happening with humanity, that if anybody is afraid of pole shift, like if you're like, oh no, the earth is going to change and we're going to shift and we're going to have another cataclysm, that's not what's going to happen. Although we are going to have this shift, it's a shift of Flying Rainbow Lasagna inside to outside. So it's not a pole shift where it's like the North Pole goes to the South Pole and South Pole goes to the North Pole. It's a pole shift in terms of inside to outside. So I want to let everybody know, like, you can let go of the fear. You don't have to be like, oh no, what's going to happen? Am I good enough? Am I going to get covered by a tidal wave? Am I going to have to reincarnate again? You don't have to think along those lines. This is the opportunity that we have. This is why it's so wonderful to be here right now, even though it's challenging with all the pollution. It's the wonderful opportunity to have the rectification. the corrective experience, where we don't get crashed down into lower levels of unconsciousness, but instead we get super rocket ship to the moon, uplifted into higher levels of consciousness. And that is my understanding of what the Flying Rainbow Lasagna transformation for the planet is, because it's not just something that we're doing as individuals. The planet is Flying Rainbow Lasagna transforming. So that means that her dreams of what organisms and life should actually be like on our planet are going to be manifested. And Earth is an amazing artist, like the best, as good as Mozart, like an amazing artist. So we've been having all this out of tune music and out of tune ecosystems on our planet. So you can imagine instead a return to a perfectly balanced ecosystem and totally no pollution and all of the organisms working together perfectly, and that's our participation in the manifestation of Earth's dream. So because I want to end on like a super positive note, and that each one of our own efforts to transform and to heal and to is part of that. We're Earth. We're literally Earth, the parts of her own body that are awakening and healing and getting better. So I always I'm not hopium. I'm not like giving you false hope. I'm giving you the very, very real hope of being able to tell you this is what's happening. Not the reoccurrence of what happened in the past, but a new rectification.
Mm-hmm. And in that we all play a part. So there's no spectators. It's important for us to play our part, to take our step.
And
you're one of those tools. You're one of the tools that we get to use to take back our planet, okay? To take back our garden and make it a garden.
Totally. That big thing. I was talking about that in the earlier part of the broadcast. The sense, a lot of humanity has this sense of, has God abandoned us? Where are the angels? Where are the good guys? Where are the white hats? And I'm trying to tell everyone, God is very real. God is very present. And really, it's inside of us. So I don't think it's a question of looking for some external thing to ride up on a white horse and say, hi, I'm here to save you. I think it is each one of us achieving these transcendent levels by metamorphosizing, and then we work together. And I'm already seeing it. I've had so many magical, wonderful experiences of being telepathically connected to other people and seeing magical things happen that theoretically are impossible. That I'm like, if we just get enough people connected on this, we all of a sudden have this amazing magical reality.
Yeah, we'll all have to wear sunglasses.
Yes, because it will be so rainbow.
Will be so bright.
So bright.
Well, thanks again for coming on the show, and we can find you at your flyingrainbowlasagna.com. And also, if they want to get in contact with you, is your email? Tell us your email address and your Facebook and whatever your media you'd like for them to contact you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm info at flyingrainbowlasagna.com. And the best way to connect with me, if you just go to my website that you just mentioned, on the homepage, there's all the little buttons. You click on the Facebook button, you find me. Click on the Twitter, you find me. Click on the YouTube, you find me. Basically, you can find me any place just by using the keywords Flying Rainbow Lasagna. But I think on Facebook, it's like sometimes people have trouble finding me. So just go to my homepage of my website, and you'll find the easy, fast links that my wonderful web mistress set up for me.
Fantastic. And it's such a beautiful site too. So I really recommend it. It's just a gorgeous site, and you'll feel something when you see her paintings. It isn't like, so everyone try it. And see you next week. Thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And I'll see you next week.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at higher risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we are listener-sponsored and commercial-free. But there still are bills to pay. In order to raise some needed funds to cover the cost, our station is offering a silver special. In the continental United States for a $60 donation, or in Alaska, Hawaii, or Canada for a $70 donation, we will send you an uncirculated 2018 1-ounce pure silver Eagle. The $70 donation, the extra 10 is to cover shipping, by the way, outside of the continental United States. When making the donation, you must put Silver Eagle promo in the notes on the donation. And thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at revolution.radio and freedomslips.com. Without you, there is no us. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Take a look around, kid. What do you see? Homes being foreclosed. People working 2-3 jobs just to put food on the table and still drowning in debt. Don't get me wrong. This country is founded on great ideals and principles. They've all been ruined by the banks. Open your eyes to banks that are robbing you. You know who my favorite president was? Who? Thomas Jefferson. Because he saw all of this coming and tried to stop it. He fought the banks. JFK too, and they killed him for it. The banking institution is more dangerous than an army, he said. He also said that every generation needs a revolution, Jimmy. The American dream is just that. Just a dream. War is a continuation of politics, only by other means. Politics is a continuation of economics by other means. This is our bank. This is our war.